My name is Abdurrahman Bang, a lecturer researcher at the Virtual University of Senegal, in charge of the Masters in Education and Tutoring certification. African universities are currently facing major difficulties to manage the number of students in the classroom. With the deficit in lecturers, the insufficient capacity for intake, many difficulties were noted, and among the responses to cope with massification and inequality of access to universities, the Virtual University of Senegal was created. In 2013, the Presidential Council on the Future of Higher Education recommended the creation of the Virtual University of Senegal, and this in a context of regulatory frameworks that are increasingly favourable to distant learning initiatives. Firstly, at the global level, it must be said that there have been revisions of regional conventions for the recognition of diplomas, with the inclusion of new paradigms. Quality assurance and the introduction of ICT are nowadays new paradigms on which, for example, the European Commission has decided to focus its efforts. Many universities are now moving towards this new paradigm. At the African level too, it should be noted that the Arusha Convention on the recognition of studies and certificates, diplomas, degrees and other qualifications in higher education was revised in Addis Ababa in 2014. Also, in Senegal, Decree number 2015-582 of the 11th of May 2015, published in the Official Journal, stipulates that there is no longer a dichotomy between public and private classical education and traditional education. The only principles to be respected by training institutions for the recognition of diplomas are legality, i.e. authorization, and quality, i.e. accreditation. It may also be noted that the technical environment is increasingly favorable with the falling cost of the Internet. From the point of view of its status, the UVS is a public university in its own right, which has the same status as other classical universities and awards the same degrees. The aims are, therefore, to strengthen the university map, to promote access, to diversify the supply of courses, to meet the growing demand for access to higher education, reduce inequalities in access, and develop distance learning for teaching and research staff in the use of ICT. The target audience. The UVS welcomes new baccalaureate graduates like other universities. Women who, with the UVS, find a model capable of welcoming them and keeping them in higher education. People with reduced mobility have the opportunity to study through the UVS when they're confronted with problems of access to traditional universities. Working professionals are also a target audience for the Virtual University of Senegal. The UVS training system is now the first fully digital public university in French-speaking sub-Saharan Africa and the second largest in terms of enrollment in Senegal. The training is based on a battery of platforms, virtual classrooms called Blackboard Collaborate, a network of open digital spaces disseminated in the different regions of Senegal. The state has made a major investment by equipping all students with computers as soon as they arrive at UVS, so each student receives a laptop and a 4G internet key with a free internet package. The UVS also has 2 recording studios for the production of video clips and multimedia teaching resources that the teachers integrate into their courses. There is a national network of open digital spaces. The digital spaces are interconnected with each other and the headquarters by a special dedicated optical fibre delivered by the state's IT Development Agency. With 10 megabytes of backup bandwidth for clients, lecture theatres, open spaces, etc., etc. The open digital spaces, known as ENO, attract the students who live in the vicinity and constitute a physical relay of the UVS, a technological support, i.e. students who have technical difficulties can go to their ENO to get help. This is where they also go to do their administrative formalities. The initial groupings when the courses start are done in the ENOs, And it's also where we do remedial work in case of difficulty. The students find a space to socialize there, as they can meet with their classmates. The ENOs are also a kind of social representation of the UVS in the most remote areas. In the ENO, the face-to-face part of the start of courses takes place, as we said earlier. The written exams too, because the exams are face-to-face but under supervision. The ENO also provides what is called community service. For example, students in their curriculum have the duty to invest what they have learnt in the community. For example, young computer scientists can, as an activity, go to the town hall or to the surrounding villages to do computer wiring. We had some initial difficulties which had an impact on the general perception of the general public. Because it was launched in 2014, it must be said that the UVS started in emergency conditions. At the beginning, we had about 2,000 students, new baccalaureate graduates who were orientated, but very quickly there was a meteoric rise in numbers. And between 2014 and 2018, each year, the UVS welcomed between 5,000 and 10,000 new students. So its enrollment went from 2,000 to nearly 30,000 students in the space of 4 years. Today, in 2022, we have nearly 65,000 students, which means that, in reality, we have experienced a truly spectacular increase. At the beginning, the technological and infrastructural setup was not sufficiently ready, nor equipped to accompany the rapid increase in the number of students, nor to ensure an optimal development of the courses. Most of the lecturers and tutors who worked at UVS were from traditional universities and were linked to UVS by a contract of association. These conditions did not favour a positive perception of this virtual university within a public opinion, which was not necessarily digitally literate. It was observed both among the new baccalaureate graduates who had been directed towards the UVS and among their parents, as well as many lecturers in traditional universities who saw the distance learning as being of lesser quality than that of teaching provided face-to-face. So, after 5 years, we analysed the situation and took stock, as well as remedial measures. Firstly, the strengthening of the technological system through a major investment in technology and the acquisition of data centres. On the IT side, the system has been substantially strengthened to cope with the increase in the number of students. The adaptation of the pedagogical model was also a very important measure, with a smooth transition system from face-to-face learning to fully distance learning. For example, the new baccalaureate students who came and who felt completely lost followed, during the first semester of their degree, a 3-stage course with adapted content and pedagogical approaches. The introductory courses to the platform, which are essential to enable them to get to grips with the system, are delivered in person, as well as the initial modules, which are also conducted entirely face-to-face under supervision of monitors. The monitors are former students who have been recruited. They do not teach, but they coach their younger brothers and sisters in the ENO. From the second semester onwards, the course becomes mixed, with activities that take place in the classroom and activities that take place at a distance. And little by little, they make the transition from blended to fully online distance learning, as soon as they've acquired sufficient autonomy to be fully independent. Meanwhile, the tutors, because we recruit them like associate lecturers from other universities, come with their knowledge of what to do in a face-to-face setting. So the tutors are trained and then they undergo certification. So there is a training in tutoring certification, and a tutoring charter which guarantees the quality of their approach to tutoring. Nowadays, most of the tutors who work with us are certified, and this is one of the criteria for recruiting tutors at UVS. Furthermore, in terms of salary, in response to a demand, their salaries are paid monthly, which means that they're secure with regard to these financial issues, which allows them to work in serene conditions. Our lecturers are also trained. When they arrive, they are trained in instructional design because they haven't learnt it previously. This allows them to structure their online courses in a pedagogically sound way before we put them on the platforms. With regards to the courses on offer, we have 3 poles. Instead of faculties, we call them poles. So the Science, Technology and Digital pole, the SEJA pole, Economic, Legal and Administrative Sciences, and finally the Humanities, Social Sciences and Education pole. In each pole, we have bachelor's and master's degree courses, which we increase each year. And today, we have a fairly extensive range of courses that we offer to our target audiences. In terms of figures, I would just like to remind you that we said that we have more than 65,000 students. Today, we have about 500 associate teachers and nearly 2,000 tutors as well. For the mentors, we have about 400 mentors in our different ENOs, who accompany the students, especially the younger ones. From the point of view of training courses too, we have about 57 courses and 17 ENOs. We have the objective of building 50 ENOs, 1 in each department in Senegal. This is therefore the presentation we wanted to make in relation to the Virtual University of Senegal.